G'day fellas and welcome to an absolute mad game that is about to happen before us because we have got one of the best players in the world, Don Artie, who has assured me that the strategy that we are about to see is absolutely out of this world. He's playing as the Abbasid dynasty in the color pink. Of course, the map is High View, a lovely map if you like to boom it up. Why do I say that? Well, I say that because it is a map where you can hide away those town centers. And I've got a sneaky suspicion that's exactly what Don is going to be looking to do here. On the other side of the map, though, in the color teal, playing as the Chinese. Do I believe in macro? That's a good question. To a certain extent, yeah. I mean, realistically, I feel like Age of Empires, like when it comes to strategy games, there's a couple of different things that you need, right? Like, you need macro, which is the control of your economy. How good are you at balancing the resources that you need at the time that you need them? And then there's also micro, which is how good are you controlling all of those individual pieces, so that often is your units. But then there's other things as well, like strategy, which is quite important in some games. As an example, in Age of Empires, strategy is pretty important, right? If you've got a bad strategy, or if your enemy's doing a really good strategy and you don't apply the appropriate response, then there's going to be an issue. Whereas if you look at a game like StarCraft, I wouldn't really say that is much, even though it's an RTS, I feel like it's largely been solved. And as a result, it really, at least at the top level, it just kind of comes down to micro. Like, there's not a lot of macro in the game. It pretty much just comes down to micro at the top level. And I'm sure there's going to be people who disagree with me on that, but that's my understanding of it, at least the way that it feels. I don't necessarily think it's the same with Age of Empires, though. I do think for Age of Empires 4, there's a lot more strategy that's involved. I think that you can get away with some crazy stuff in this game. I think it's a little bit more difficult to punish your enemy if they're going to be looking to do that. But let's talk a little bit about Don. For anybody who's unfamiliar with Don, he is one of the greats of Age of Empires 3. Famously took out Kaiser Klein in the, I think it was the grand finals, maybe the semi-finals of one of the biggest tournaments they ever had. Such a great series. Gosh, I tell you what, I love. It was one of the best games of all time, that one that we saw on was it New England? No, Saguenay. Anyway, we move forward, and of course, we talk about the matchup. One of the best matchups for China. Honestly, I love this matchup as China, just simply because Chukunu are so strong against the Abbasid dynasty throughout this matchup. So in the feudal age, they do very well against camels, so you can't make camels as the Abbasid dynasty just because they will get focused down by the Chinese Chukunu. In the Imperial age, it's the same thing on the condition that the Chinese player is trading. And what do I mean by trading? I'm not talking about the traders that sit in the corner of the map that you trade to. I'm talking about trading units, baby. I'm reminded of that... There's a fight you don't want to be picking right there. I'm reminded of that interview with the Olympian, and I think he was drinking alcohol. He says, "I'm talking about Mountain Dew, baby." At least I think that's what he said. Look, I'm probably wrong, but anyway. So yeah, I think for Don, it's going to be hard playing up against Chukunu in this matchup because even towards the Imperial age, Chukunu are really strong as long as that Chinese player is trading consistently. And we got some villagers moving out, just carrying their berry baskets. They're empty-handed at the moment, but they exchange them for picks. It's going to be a second town center for Don as the age up does come through, and of course it's going to be that economic wing. No real surprise there. I think economic wing picked at the moment about 85 to 90% of the games that you see the Abbasid dynasty played. Obviously, we see trade wing come out occasionally. We saw Luciferon go for the trade wing against Beastie in EGC TV's Golden League Grand Final. And we've seen things like culture wing into military wing or culture wing into eco wing. Plenty of different options for you. But let's ride on board over on the other side of the map with our Chinese player and see how he's doing, because it looks like it's just going to be a pretty quick Song dynasty here. Almost got enough resources to age up, and you can see he's just picked up enough gold now to age up, so he'll be very happy with that. And 13 villagers here on food. So typically, as the Chinese in this matchup, I love to go 2 town center Song dynasty into a large feudal pressure of Chukunu and just look to pressure food sources. So you're looking out for berries, you're looking out for deer. That is the main thing that you're looking to put pressure on with your Chukunu. And largely the defense is going to be from the Abbasid player based around horsemen. And normally you can find a pretty decent age up timing and look to pick up veterancy, look to pick up +2, and then really punish them in that early feudal age. And you've got to be careful because they obviously do have access to a pretty quick mangonel, but their age up timing is obviously pretty slow. Well, it looks like the Barbican is going to be coming down, though, for our Chinese player. They're just going to be putting it in the front of the base, as we would expect, and now starting to take plenty of stone back here. Interestingly, didn't move a lot of villagers I think this is the consequence of going for like this forward Barbican, because normally the Barbican, like I just put it right here on the gold. You look at the distance that you got to come. Like realistically, I think don't get me wrong, I think this is a great position for the Barbican. It's just that in this matchup, I can't help but imagine that you probably don't need this Barbican in this position. It's more just about getting that Song Dynasty up really, really quickly. But overall, base building probably could be better for our Chinese player. We can see he does actually miss out on the mill. Part of the reason why we always try and put the mill as close to the town center as possible is just so that this one does always intersect. Let's check in over on the base of Don. Don actually putting the town center down on the stone, indicating he's going to be going for a third town center. At least that's normally what that indicates. How's he doing on wood? Yeah, 8 vills on wood. So definitely going to be going for a third town center here. I'm curious how many TCs Don goes for, but I think as the Abbasid, you can get away with a third town center against the Chinese. And it's probably in your best interest to do that, as long as you do scout the stone. I think if the Chinese player is looking to play one base Chugunu, you got to be very careful about how many town centers you go for, because they can actually just go straight for the House of Wisdom town center. And if they're really feeling cheeky, of course, they can always put some stone walls down, and then you've got a real problem. Can you imagine coming in here right now with a stone wall? Oh my god, it would be glorious. There'd be no way that you could possibly hold that. And, I mean, that's part of the reason why stone walls are so strong with the Chinese Shukunu. But we do see now plenty of stone being gathered up for our Chinese player. More than enough, actually, considering it is supervised. Now the drop-off does happen. Second TC will be coming down next to the starting town center. So this is pretty standard Chinese play here. And now the question is, where does he go from here? So he could be looking to go fast castle. Could be looking to go towards that feudal play. I'd be very hesitant to go fast castle. You just don't have enough food at the moment, so I don't think he's collected enough sheep to justify a fast castle. He does have the berries in the back, but realistically, when you look at the food count, like all of the deer packs are towards the front, so he's going to have to move out here. And I mean, yeah, he's going to be able to sit on the Barbican, but there's a chance if a camel or an archer comes out over here that you're not really going to be able to get all that food. So I think it's worth, or it's justifiable to think about playing a little bit longer in the feudal. But Don going to be now moving up towards that north side, going for a second, or rather third town center. And we can see there's no villagers on the stone anymore, so it's just going to be 3 TCs from Don. And I think the question's going to be whether he looks to play in the feudal age or whether he just goes castle. Because I think he can definitely go castle into men-at-arms. The problem will be if there's a large feudal presence here from his enemy. But still, for the moment, I mean, that's a fair amount of villagers out on food here. He's got 6 out and rallying out as well. One of the mistakes that a lot of Chinese players will make is that they diversify food income too early. And this is one of those cases. All of these villagers right here, you'd love to have them over on the sheep with the supervision. Because right now, when they hand in, you're going to be missing out on 2 food from each of them. So that's 20 food that you're missing out from early on in this game. So you can see them all coming in right there. And you might not think that's a lot, but when you add up, 250, 500, 1,000, 1,500, add the 20% on top of that, you're talking about an extra 300 food. Like that's a lot of resources. That's 6 villages that you could have made that you now can't make. So it's a decent way to think about it like that. Abbasid, on the other hand, though, they're a lot more free with their villagers and the position that you can keep them. Don now going to start rallying out to gold. So Don's just going to be going to castle age by the looks of it here. You can see not a very heavy presence on wood, which means no production, which obviously means no units. And now walls coming up. Oh, Don already spotting out the walls. This is always a good sign when you're going fast castle. There's a little part of me that just goes, all right, I'm just going to go fast castle and I'm just going to spam knights at this or spam, men-at-arm crossbow. China's able to hold on pretty well, but I suspect he's probably going to be looking for an early keep in this matchup just to try and hold out. Because when it comes to the late game, I think that the Abbasid is very capable of dealing with the Chinese in the late game just because of the fact that they've got the culverin. And the culverin allows them to maintain a pretty good siege, or like a healthy siege control in the late game. They don't have to invest nearly as much as the Chinese does. And so it's much easier for them to deny the nest of bees. And so it allows them to have pretty good rain with things like crossbows. But I'm curious to see, and obviously hand cannon is as well, really, really strong. But I'm curious to see exactly what our teal Chinese player looks to do because he's going straight to castle age as well. So very passive game early on in this game, 9 minutes through. So we'll take a look now over towards the base of Don because his age up is going to be coming through very shortly. I'm suspecting he probably goes into culture wing here. Culture wing makes the most sense, and it is going to be the culture wing. So going to be able to reduce a lot of the technologies down by 20%. It's a huge amount. Preservation of knowledge, but it also reduces the cost of age ups. So if Don's thinking about trade wing, probably not. Probably go military wing if he's thinking about Imperial. He gets 3 hand cannoneers for free. Obviously, he has to pay for the Imperial age up, but that's going to reduce that cost down as well. And Don now moving a lot of villagers out over to wood. This to me is indicating that he's thinking about playing a little bit of castle here. Upgrades starting to come through as well. But remember, he's on that 3 town centers. So if we were to say, realistically, you know, who's the economic lead right here? It's technically Don. Even though the villager counts are in favor of our Chinese player, Don is scaling towards that late game because you've got the equivalent here of 2 villagers every 30 seconds, which works out to be 4 a minute, compared to Don, who's running on 3 town centers. Actually, was it 2 every 15 seconds? So 4 a minute from each town center, so 8, compared to 3 from each town center over here, which is 9. So a very slight difference, 8 villagers a minute versus 9 villagers a minute. So technically, it's pretty much even Stevens at this point. You know, after 10 minutes, you'll see a difference of what is it, 10 villagers, something like that. It's not a huge difference. Especially because in 10 minutes time, they're both going to be maxed out well and truly. But it looks like it's going to be Palace Guards coming down from our Chinese player. A little bit late on the Palace Guards, 11 minutes. But we do see the barracks going down outside the radius of the Imperial Academy. Always something a little bit, always got to be cautious with this. Always want to try and keep those production buildings inside the radius. And now starting to rally out. Looks like he's going to be moving out to a nice little food source. Let's check in with Don. And hold on a minute. What is Don doing right here? Is Don going Imperial? No, I think this is just... Wait, where's these production buildings? Is Don literally naked Imperial right now? Don's naked Imperial. All right, well, I'm hoping for your sake you've not seen Don Artie naked before this. But yeah, this is the first time I'm getting to see it. Don Artie going for a naked Imperial Age. So what is a naked Imperial Age? For anybody wondering, naked Imperial Age just basically means you don't make any units. And not only that, but you don't make any production either. So Don Artie right now, the mosque is his first real production building that he's making. And as you would know, it's not going to do too much. So he hasn't actually walled himself up. And I think in a matchup like this, he probably can get away with it. He's just got to be really careful of these Palace Guards. Fortunately, no ranged upgrades coming through just yet, so we don't see... There's the blacksmith on the backside, but ideally you should have +1 and +2 coming through. And there's the... God, this is early. Abbasid Fast Imperial. Look at this. Look at the size of it. Look at the time of it. Damn. So he's going to be up before 14 minutes by the look of it. Yeah, minute 35 left on it. So he'll be up before 14 minutes. Don Artie with the Fast Imperial. Naked, 3TC Naked Imperial. And now you can see what he's going for. Is he just going to go mass hand cannoneers? How many vills does he have on gold? Not a lot, but look at the upgrades that are coming through right now. I wouldn't be surprised if we just see a whole bunch of vills move to gold and he just goes like hand cannoneers. I think hand cannoneers are actually really good here, especially against Palace Guards. It basically just renders them completely useless because it takes like, what, 5 shots to kill them? 6 shots, something like that. 6 shots to kill a Palace Guard. So you have a very happy kite. But we do see it is going to be crossbows to start him off. Now, remember, he'll get 3 hand cannoneers when he ages up as well. A little bit of the Age of Empires 3 bonus coming in. But now those Palace Guards going to start idling out some villagers. It's +2 through yet. And still, no, not even +1. There's the +1. Is he supervising it? Please tell me he's supervising it. Not even supervising it. Come on, Magic. Now, this isn't the Magic. This is do I believe in Magic? Actually, no, it's do I believe in macro. Sorry. So, almost got it wrong right there. But villagers are being worked down. He's managed to take out 3 so far. Crossbow mass starting to build. Remember, he's got the 3 hand cannoneers about to stop in. About to stop by, about to drive by. But he's managed to hold just with town centers. And this is the consequence of not picking up that +2 ranged armor this early on. And we see a couple Springalds in queue for our Chinese player. 2 Springalds followed by a Nest of Bees. Very interesting to move into Springalds this early when there's no real siege threat. Age up, about to come through though. Let's get it. Cinematic mode. You know what's happening. The Fast Imperial before 14 minutes. Don Artie picking it up right there. Very, very nicely played by Don. Getting it in this early. 14 minutes. So now has hand cannoneers that should have arrived. Where? Let me check. Where's Don's army? Excuse me, Don. Where did your hand cannoneers go? There they are. There they are. So 3 hand cannoneers arrive. So you're talking... This is a fair amount of resources, right? Like 240 for each of them. So 720 resources that he just got for free. He's going to be able to use that to defend against any kind of pushes like this. And really, this is the smart thing to do, right? As the Chinese player, what you want to do now is just look to hit enemy resource locations. You need to drop down a keep. I think a keep is really important here, just to try and delay your enemy, if possible. Obviously, you've got the Barbican, but that hardly protects your base. So you need that keep and then want to try and get Imperial yourself. But Chukunu are going to be pretty effective here. As long as he's able to get up, and we can see Don suffering a bit of a split here, but the hand cannoneers are making their way out. The naked Fast Imperial is interesting to say the least. Vil's on the move. He's got plenty of gold veins out here that he could be looking to move to. Needs to wall up the front. Donati, normally not a fan of walls. He is, just like GUA, gone for many a no-wall challenge. +2 now on the way through as well for our Chinese player. And as you can see, those palace guards, well, they don't do relatively well against the heavy damage of the hand cannoneers. You can see 35 damage a pop coming in. It's a lot. It is a lot. It's not to be messed with. Now let's check in. So we do have the Imperial Age coming through for macro. Do I believe in macro? It seems like I do at this stage. His macro is pretty solid. I will give him that. And up towards the north side of the map, those raids are getting shut down. But the thing is, he really wants to be avoiding these fights. So whenever your hand cannoneers get caught like this, you just got to move them on. You just got to, you know, move up here, move over into the stealth forest. You just want to try and keep them alive. And what that's going to do is that's going to delay the enemy attacking you, because that's what you want to avoid. Because you need time to get up to the castle age. Oh, sorry, to the Imperial Age. And that's exactly what he's doing now. So moving into Jukunu. So this is the right call once again. Needs to be super heavy on gold at the moment though, because he needs so many upgrades for himself as the Chinese. So I'd be tempted to move a whole bunch of villagers. What's he got a lot of villagers on right now? A lot of villagers on food. So definitely doesn't need all these vills on food. Just pull them all off, throw them down on the gold vein right now, and look to try and get up plenty of upgrades, because yeah, you need +3 ranged attack, and he doesn't even have +1, +2, or +3 yet. And of course you need elite Jukunu. Let's see. Okay, the age up comes through. Don's now on the push. He's up to 20 hand cannoneers now. Nesta B is going to be firing off, getting some decent shots here. Remember, the hand cannoneers have got lots more health than your normal units. And look at the hand cannoneers just absolutely launching those Nesta Bs into the Shadow Realm. Villagers also moving forward right now. Don just going to be dropping down a forward keep. This is why you need that forward keep that we were, or the defensive keep that we were talking about. You know, imagine if you've got a nice little keep here as China, none of this push even comes close. Villagers unable to get through. It's going to slow down Don on the defensive here. And now all of a sudden, our Chinese player, he's got a very small villager lead, but the question's going to be, is it even going to matter at this point? Because Don has a huge amount of tempo behind this. The hand cannoneers are coming out. Expect to see the siege workshop thrown down very soon here for Don as well, and he's going to begin production. Normally, Don's he's a trebuchet kind of guy. Doesn't really like to go into the bombards. So I'm curious to see exactly how he looks to play it. Springald's on the defensive though. And now Magic's got all the tools that he needs to deal with this at home. He can be looking to go into a couple of counterweight trebuchets underneath the town center, but of course he also needs Nesta Bs to help defend him. He's kind of moving into Jukunu, which is nice. So at the moment, the most important thing for him, supervise the blacksmith and just make sure you are pumping out +1, +2, +3 ranged upgrades. You've got that Spirit Way. Remember, that Spirit Way is going to help out a huge amount when you're playing on the defensive like this with your Jukunu, just because it's going to provide those heals. Make sure that you're spamming out Jukunu here. Under attack from a number of different angles. You can see he's got these buildings out here. And Don's still yet to go. Oh, never mind. There's the siege workshop. I'm wondering where that siege workshop was. So Don finally going to drop down that siege workshop. The forward keep going to be able to hold the position. And you can see how kind of irrelevant this Barbican was throughout this game. Part of the reason why just putting it down on the gold just makes it a bit more sense. But a nice little keep comes up over on this west side. He's going to be securing his gold here. This is really nice. He also secures up the 4K, but the main one's obviously the 8K. This is really nice. And just keeps this alive, because this is going to be hard to attack. You're going to need to pull rams, but you're probably going to need at least 3 rams with this to attack it. And it's going to take up quite a while. Obviously, the Abbasid do have the ability to train rams on the field. They don't need siege engineering. So Don could look to do that, but you've got other priorities at the moment. Jukunu numbers starting to build, and he does have the clock tower counterweight treb out. So you can see the macro. So do I believe in macro? It seems not. So the macro is starting to stack up 2,400 food. And realistically, you don't need food at the moment. I mean, you need food for training villagers and Jukunu. That's it. Everything else is pretty much just wood and gold. The one thing to note is that he really needs to start trading with his Jukunu. You might look at this and think, oh, 29 Jukunu, that's not a lot. Yeah, it's not a lot, but the idea is that they're going to be trading in, trading out, and you're just going to be hitting your enemy non-stop with Jukunu, just rallying them in. And hopefully a bit more production here. You can see all the production off over to this east side. Ideally, you want to try and keep it in underneath this town center. But he's going to be able to work down the keep. And once the keep goes down, then he can really start to engage. And you might be thinking hand cannoneers against Jukunu. Well, the hand cannoneers are going to absolutely rip them a new one. To an extent, yes, but the Jukunu do a lot of damage because of their extra attack speed. And it's also important to remember that the hand cannoneers are going to be overkilling quite a lot. So it gives a pretty decent advantage to the Chukunu. I'd still think at the moment the hand cannoneers would absolutely obliterate the Chukunu. But it's about making sure that you've got that trade ready to go through. Don at 172 pop, 185 for his opponent. Roller shutter triggers comes through. Those Springald's going to have a little bit of extra range on it, and now the balance comes in. How many Trebs do I make? How many Nest of Bees do I make? How many Springalds do I make? These are really important questions to consider. Ideally, you want enough Springalds that you can one-shot a Culverin. You can see right now that this Culverin is moving through 220 health up against the Springald with 100 damage. Remember, it does have that armor. So, slowly but steadily. The push gets ground down. Double Siege Workshop, going for a triple Siege Workshop now. Baby, a triple. So this is really where he needs to be scouting this out. And you see the double Siege Workshop is an indicator to you, hey, you need to make another Siege Workshop and you need to start supervising it. He's going to look to push out now. This is definitely the right call. The question is going to be whether he's got the right balance of units, though. Chukunu starting to move out. He's going to be looking for a decent fight here. Big heals come off. Mangonel shot on the back, though. He's going to be so careful of those Mangonels. And you can see nice, decent kiting coming through from our Chinese player. Don Artie looking to try and deal with a lot of these units, but so many units going down here. Don actually trading out very effectively. Springles the micro on the backside. It's not even going to matter. The Mangonel coming through and just complete obliteration. The consequence of not having all that extra production rallying in, the no nest of bees on the backline. And you can see Don just keeping 34 hand cannoneers alive. It was looking good at the start. But unfortunately, the numbers from our Chinese player are just not the best, letting Don build up like that. And now we see an Imperial Palace coming down, looking like he might move into Fire Lances. I don't think he's going to have time for it, though. Don is really pushing the issue right now. You can see Don pushing up with the triple Mangonel. Not a lot of siege, and it's not going to matter. Don Artie victorious with a beautiful game. Well played by the Don fellas. I'm going to leave a link down in the description to where you can go and watch Don over on YouTube. Check him out. He's got some great content over there. Does some educational stuff over on YouTube. So go check him out. Go say good day. And of course, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.